And I'm Myrna Brown. For more sound journalism grounded in facts and biblical truth, visit WNG.org.
You're listening to Awesome Radio, WECU, 107.5 FM, 1570 AM. Christian media with the spirit of excellence.
Guess I'm too close to the mirror to see what you see. While you shower down your blessings on me. It's not anything I've done, Lord, as far as I can see. Guess I'm too close to the mirror to see what you see in me. Sometimes I think about the things you have done for me. How you washed away all my sin, set my spirit free. Then I look back on my life, I haven't always done right. Still your goodness and mercy follows me every day of my life. I believe I'm too close to the mirror to see what you see. While you shower down your blessings.
1570 AM and W298BX 107.5 FM, Winterville, North Carolina.
Motivations with Glenn.
Good afternoon, everyone. You are tuned into Awesome Radio, 107.5, 1570 AM, WECU, Winterville, North Carolina. Christian media with the spirit of excellence. You are tuned into the Glenn Johnson Show, Motivations with Glenn and Apostle Jacqueline Cullins Williams. We have a great topic for you today, Father's Day. Father's Day topics and the difference between a father and a dad. There is a difference. And some might agree, some might disagree, but I'll just start by saying what is their main difference? Both refer to being a male figure that participates in making children. However, a dad is someone who listens to their children, is emotionally supportive, and whose children rely on them whenever things go wrong. A father, on the other hand, is someone that only pays bills and take care of families' basic needs, like food and shelter. Would you agree, Apostle?
Hey, Dr. Glenn, and to our listening audience on today, it is a good subject, and that is an age-old question, I believe. Is there a difference between a dad and a father? And, the way that I see it is that there are many fathers, depending on which way you're looking at this. If you say father in the gospel, in the church realm, that means something totally different. And that means, someone that helps you to grow as far as those particular things go in the gospel. They may have helped you come out, and also, like almost like a spiritual father. They help you, and watch over you, pray for you, and help you to be your best, concerning the gospel. But when we're talking about natural father versus a dad, I believe that anybody can be a father, but not everyone is a dad. A father could just be someone that helped to bring a child here. They could even be the sperm donor, if that's what we want to call it. Those that just help to produce a child. And I believe that's the title of father. But then, being a dad is a totally different thing. A lot of people don't know what it is to be a dad or even to have a dad because they did not stick around to be a dad. They had fathers, but they didn't have a dad. Dr. Glenn?
So essentially, what you're saying is a father is basically biological, whereas a dad is more human and more realistic, more natural.
Present, hands-on,
Right, present
and
as in
present, hands-on, and concerned in some kind of way. And the father doesn't have to be. So maybe that's why we have that title of Father's Day. Because anybody could be a father, and that's celebrating any male that's bringing forth a child. But it takes somebody different to be a dad. And a lot of times, people they don't know what it is to even use the word dad. I didn't grow up with one. I grew up with a father. I did have a father because nobody on this earth got here without a father. I don't care what anybody says or what anybody does or how things are trying to be manipulated. There has to be a male involved in order for you to be here.
I actually think the father and the dad both contribute to household needs. For instance, a child should thank their father, look, Dad, I want to thank you, or Father, I want to thank you because I can read at night. We got lights. You paid the bill. We got lights. Keeping utilities on, keeping food in the refrigerator to be cooked for your nourishment. So, yeah, a father and dad, he's essential to both of those things.
And depending on how, culture wise, how you use that word, father, some people they say, well, that's my father. And they mean their dad, someone that was present or whatever. But I'm just saying you could be a father and not be a dad and not be present. So we want to, we want to be careful how we phrase that. We don't want to discount people being called a father and saying that that's not a good word, But I'm just saying, sometimes people, they express it differently. I don't know what it is to say. I didn't know growing up what it was to say dad, but I knew that I had a father, and I had to fill out paperwork. I had to say, who my father was, but I couldn't say that I ever said the word dad. Since I've moved here, Dr. Glenn, all the way from the West to here, I've seen a lot about, how fathers work. And I want to just say, let's say this while we're getting in deep already, Dr. Glenn. Let's just say Happy Father's Day to all the fathers, because Father's Day is coming on Sunday.
Absolutely. What you was talking about, I don't want to change the subject, but language itself, the term father and dad is a language, but our language is being changed. Excuse me. Our language is being changed across the United States. I just want to give an example since you mentioned that. So we refer to father, dad, but language itself, there's an initiative to change multiple meanings around the nation. For instance, someone with a disability, they want to take the dis out of ability. They might have a different availability, not a disability, or convict versus criminal or felon. So even in the criminal justice system, there changes the structure and the language.
Because you could be a convict and not be a criminal. You could be convicted of the crime, but didn't do the crime.
Exactly.
So I can understand that. And that's what I was trying to make the
Right.
difference here, in the mix of words. And so we might use the word for this particular broadcast interchangeable, father and dad. And so we're talking about a man that's responsible and those that are looking out for their children. And as I went to say before I said Happy Father's Day, when I came here, I saw the role of a father. And I want to say Happy Father's Day to my husband's father, because I saw him in the role of taking care of his son. Well, my son is an adult, and I still saw the relationship and him still following, my husband as an adult and looking after him and still being in the father figure. And I began to say dad. I actually was able to use the word and say dad because I never was able to use it with my own father.
And there's a lot of great fathers out there as well as dads. I know my son Jeffrey is a great father and a dad to his children, my two grandchildren that he has. So my hat's off and happy Father's Day to my son Jeffrey. And we're going to take some calls after we come back from the next break, the first break, in about 2 minutes. I'm going to let Apostle Jackie Cullins Williams take us out to the break.
Yes, and for those of you that want to call in and add in on this subject today, our number here is 252-756-2008. Again, you can call in and you could be right here on live on the air with us. Just be cautious and be aware that you are live on the radio broadcast. And again, that number is 252-756-2008. Come on and join us and join this discussion on today.
But please call after we take this break in about 2 minutes. Jackie.
Definitely. And so, Dr. Glenn, would you, when we come back to, you could tell us, because you're a father and you mentioned your son, some of the things that you normally do on Father's Day. I'm hoping that all fathers have a very good Father's Day. I've posted memes in the past on social media of the underwear with the holes in it saying, Father's Day is coming, so now you can get some new underwear. Let's be a blessing to the fathers. Get those ties, get those socks, get those new underwear, get those things, because it is their day. Just like we do with Mother's Day. Sometimes we tend to try to make Mother's Day bigger and then downplay the father. But there's a lot of things, in the studies and the particular things that I did for looking for this broadcast that said that there's a lot of things that are wrong in the world and in the earth because of lack of there being fathers. Dr. Glenn?
Yeah, and you're right. New pair of socks, T-shirt, underwear. My mother always bought those things for me for my birthday. But my son and daughter usually present I won't mention the amount, but a sufficient amount on a gift card to a particular eatery.
Oh, yeah. Get them those gift cards. Get them those meals. Take them out on Sunday. Let's have these restaurants full and be a blessing to the fathers on Father's Day. That's good, Dr. Glenn.
Yeah, and I don't leave no balance on mine. I use my entire gift card right then and there.
So you could buy your own new underwear and your own new socks and your own new tie, Dr. Glenn. That's a good thing.
That's right. Anyway, 20 seconds before we got to the first break, we'll be looking for some calls to call in after the break. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is Awesome Radio and the Awesome Radio Network, WECU, 107.5 FM, 1570 AM, WECU. We will return in a moment after this brief break. Keep it locked right here, ladies and gentlemen.
My name is Jayla, and you're to see to my papa, Glenn Johnson, on the ready.
From the Pacific Justice Institute, this is The Legal Edge, defending your rights as a Christian, a parent, and a citizen. Here's Brad Dacus.
Todd Kolstad is suing 2 social workers with Child Protective Services in Glasgow, Montana, for illegally terminating custody of his teenage daughter simply because of his religious beliefs about gender identity. The father had no due process when he lost custody of his daughter. Well, Pacific Justice Institute is co-counsel in this case to restore Mr. Kolstad's parental rights. Folks, nationwide, social workers are targeting parents just like Mr. Kolstad. Please pray for this father and download 12 Steps to Protect Your Children from CPS at pji.org.
PJI provides legal representation without charge. Get exclusive email updates by registering for The Legal Insider at pji.org.
Attention, powerful women. Unleash your inner boss and walk into your blessings. Mark your calendars because Nakisha Williams proudly presents the No Pain, No Gain Women Boss and Blessed Up Conference 2024. Sunday, August 18th at the Greenville Convention Center. It's the Double You Can't Stop Me edition with 2 powerhouse keynote speakers. The dynamic Bishop Vance Old, Grammy and Stellar Award winner Erica Campbell. Performing live, Corinne Hawthorne.
You said you
and Zacardi Cortez. Experience soul-stirring messages from Chanel Monique Lee, Deja Fullmore, and prophetess Jacqueline London. This conference will leave you forever changed. Hosted by visionary Keisha Williams and comedian Akita B. No pain, no gain. Women Boston Blessed Up Conference 2024, where the devil can't stop you and the blessings await. Sunday, August 18th. Doors open at 2 p.m. Show starts at 3. Vendor space available and early bird tickets for just $65 at NakishaMWilliams.com.
You're listening to Awesome Radio, WECU 107.5 FM, 1570 AM. Christian media with the spirit of excellence.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Glenn Johnson Show, Motivations with Glenn and Apostle Jacqueline Cullins Williams. We are going to be waiting for callers to call in with a comment or question. And by calling in, we would certainly appreciate it. That number, once again, 252-756-2008. The lines are open, and we are standing by. Jackie.
Yes, and I wanted to say before we get into some of these tips about what the scripture says, and also some tips about being a good father or being a good dad, I have two things to say, Dr. Glenn. I have put this out there in more than one area. I want to say first to any fathers or dads out there, don't allow any circumstances to keep you from being a father or dad to your child. A lot of times, relationships, they go bad, and they split up in a bad way, and in the end ends up affecting the children, where the children now no longer have a father, or they're no longer in contact with their father because the relationship with the mother went so sour and was so bad until sometimes they don't ever want to see each other again, and now the children are lost in the process. Don't let that happen to you. Take care of your children. I don't care what you have to do. If you have to go to the court system and go around her, if she's bitter or whatever else is happening, stay in your children's life. Stay a part of their life. Be a blessing to them. Let them know. I don't care if you don't have that much. You know, a lot of times if they feel like they can't pay a lot in child support or can't support the child financially, then they won't come around. I'm sure your child will appreciate you coming around with a sucker, some candy or something, and letting them know that you love them versus seeing you absent physically and financially. And then the second thing I want to say, Dr. Glenn, is that at Father's Day, a lot of times a lot of women jump up and they begin to say, well, the father wasn't there, he wasn't in their life, so I have been the mother and the father. I want to say to you, to all of us women, you can never be a father. God didn't make you a male. You could step in the role of taking care of the child financially, but there's some things that only a real father can bring into the life of a child, and you're not the father. Yes, you supported them like the father, and we give you credit. We give you kudos, but you could not make them by yourself. You can take care of them by yourself, but you couldn't make them by yourself. So if they have a father, you need to, whatever it is, get over it and give the father credit for being a father and celebrate Father's Day. Dr. Glenn?
I'm so glad you mentioned that, because before I relocated to Philadelphia from the Jersey Shore, I think this might have been around 95 or 96. I had a conversation with a gentleman. He approached me actually because he hadn't seen his children in about 5 or 6 years. So he was all broken down. And I just stood there. We stood face to face. I said, look, if you have to go through the court system, go through the court system by no means necessary. Do you actually approach her without somebody being informed? Because you don't know if she has a restraining order, or there might be some underlying conditions that you might not be aware of, and you don't want to cause any problems for you not to see your children. So I would go through the court system, make it official, get the court order saying that you can see your children, but I want you to see your children. And it's my understanding to this day, he's been an absolute great father.
Definitely get there, regardless to being, some of them, they'll say, well, he owes back child support. and those type of things. Mothers, let that go. If he owes back child support, the court will make him pay, but don't hold his children away from him because he's not paying or he's not doing things according to what you like. Allow him to be a father, because that absence in the child's life, you just, it's something that can never be replaced. It's also sometimes a place that can never be healed. And it's also a place that can never be filled because you missed it, and you missed it in those formative years, and there's nothing you can do about it. Except try to live on without it.
And thanks for mentioning that, Jackie, because as we wait for our callers to call in and we get to some more documents, I want to mention something that you just said about the child support issue. There was a gentleman in New Jersey, him and his wife got divorced, but he was the father figure to the daughter. He paid child support all these years until she was 18. Now they're divorced. No, it was before she turned 18. Because what happened was they got divorced. So the father said, well, I'm not going to pay the child support anymore. Plus, the wife had told him at the time, she's not actually your daughter. She's not your biological daughter. But the court ruled in her favor and said, look, I don't care. You've been in this child's life all this time. And so therefore, you are the father.
And there's some fathers that will, continue to be in the child's life even when they know they're not the father.
Yeah.
Those are super dads. I say, those are the fathers that we wish we had more of. There are plenty of men that take on other people's, or another father's child and raise them as their own. Some people, that's all they know, and that's the only person they know as dad is the one that raised them. And that's what I want to say. Whoever raises you and loves you and looks after you, that's who is dad. That's who you need to give honor. Even, your biological father, if they're not there and God replaced them with someone, be grateful for that, because there's a lot of people that don't even have that relationship.
That's right. Thank you for mentioning that, Jackie, because you're right. We do have some super dads. There are some men wholeheartedly and willing to step in and do that role as a father when they know that the child is not biologically theirs.
And some of them, Dr. Glenn, you can't even tell that's not their biological daughter. When you see them, or their biological son, you see them together, that's all you know is dad. And they love them just unconditionally and never make a difference and say, this is not my child. They raise them, and that's dad. And that's all they know as dad. And those fathers and those dads, those are awesome people. We got to give them their flowers and give them their hand claps, because there's a lot of men that are out there that do just that, and they're not given credit for that. Dr. Glenn?
Well, another thing I want to share. I know a father, like I said, living in Jersey, that raised two daughters. The mom was nowhere to be found. And until this very day, I always wonder in the back of my mind, how did those two girls ever turn out? Because he raised those two girls like you wouldn't believe.
And a lot of them, Dr. Glenn, they turn out just fine, because those men make sure that they have some female figure in their life. They don't just isolate and not do it. Sometimes those children have babysitters. They have different people that are there to mentor them and help them. They have aunts, grandmothers, and other things that step in and become that female figure. No one does it alone.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I thought. I said, well, I think there's some type of female that's attached to these girls, which is why he's doing what he's doing.
Definitely, but we want to give honor to them and those fathers and dads on this coming Sunday too. I want to just encourage you to go and just do it up for them. Get out some cards and give Father's Day cards to all the men that you know, and just begin to let them know that we appreciate them. Especially now when there's something positive going on, when there's something that they could be lifted up for. We see enough negative things. And so now, that this is going to be a positive event. Go ahead and push it up, and let's make it big. Dr. Glenn?
And after this next break, I have one audio clip that's 2.5 minutes on the history of Father's Day, because we have 30 minutes remaining for the broadcast. So I'd like to get that audio clip done. We'll get to some more documents. And then before we close out the broadcast, we'll have one audio clip on Father's Day song, Being Like Jesus. And I'll get them Jacqueline to mention the lyrics to that song. And if anybody needs any documents that I have concerning Father's Day, I know you know how to be a great father. But if you want to look over some things, please don't hesitate to email me, GlennJohnsonShow@gmail.com. That's Glenn with 2 N's. And I don't want to lose my voice. I'm getting hoarse all of a sudden. Jackie.
Dr. Glenn, yes. We're getting ready to go out for our first break, so we want you to come right back here. This is Awesome Radio at 106.5 and 1570 AM on your AM dial. Come on back, and we got some more things for you. Quickly, Dr. Glenn.
Keep it locked right here. 107.5 FM, 1570 AM. Awesome Radio.
The Northern Pitt County Improvement Association will be hosting a community event entitled Building a Healthier Pitt County Together on Saturday, June 15th from 1 to 4 p.m. at their NPCIA building at 2197 Old River Road in the heart of Greenville. This free event will be a fun family day where they will have free health screenings, educational and fun activities. Food vendors will be on site along with games and more. Register for free by visiting their website, npciainc.org. Again, that's Saturday, June 15th, 1 to 4 p.m. at 2197 Old River Road in Greenville. Please feel free to visit their website to find out more information about this event. Hope to see you there.
You're listening to the Ankerberg Minute with apologist and television host, Dr. John Ankerberg.
How do you think that we can better understand the Bible's teachings about the end times? You know that there are many views. Which one is correct? When it comes to the pre-tribulation view of the rapture, Dr. Ed Heinsohn explains,
it literally means that Jesus will come in the rapture before the time of tribulation and judgment. The church will be caught away to the Father's house before he unleashes the judgments that are described in the book of the Revelation. Pre-trib then believes in an imminent rapture. It could happen at any moment, at any time.
The best way to prepare for Christ's coming is to know Christ and live for him now. He could return at any moment, even today.
For additional resources or to view our TV program, log on to jashow.org.
You're listening to Awesome Radio, WECU, 107.5 FM, 1570 AM. Christian media with the spirit of excellence.
We're back. You're listening to The Glenn Johnson Show. You can reach Glenn at glennjohnsonshow@gmail.com.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. And now I'll rest my voice. And before we get back to some more commentary, I would like to play our first audio clip. That's 2.5 minutes.
It is the third week of June, which means Father's Day is this Sunday. Honoring our dads has become a yearly celebration, but have you ever wondered how that holiday actually came to be? Well, Whit Johnson takes a look back at the history of Father's Day.
Sunday, June 20th, we celebrate dads for Father's Day, showering gifts on the men who taught us to fly, made chores fun, and carried us on their backs for a ride in the sun. But when and where did the Day for Dads begin? It all started more than 100 years ago. The first known Father's Day was celebrated in Spokane, Washington. As the story goes, Sonora Smart Dodd, whose mother died at childbirth, thought of her single dad during a Mother's Day church sermon in 1909. So she launched an effort through the YMCA and local churches to celebrate her dad and everyone else's. That first Father's Day was on June 19th, 1910, her father's birth month. The idea then traveled to Congress and was acknowledged by several presidents. In 1916, Woodrow Wilson, the same president who signed a proclamation for a National Mother's Day, approved a Father's Day, but no proclamation. Calvin Coolidge also acknowledged the day as a national event in 1924. It wasn't until 1966 when President Lyndon Johnson signed an executive order for the nation to celebrate Father's Day on the third Sunday of June, a day for all to honor the love and gratitude which they bear for their fathers. but it still wasn't an official national holiday. Not until 1972. That's when Congress passed an act and President Nixon signed Father's Day into law. Today, 6 in 10 men in America are fathers, which means out of 121 million men over 15, 75 million are dads. So this year on June 20th, whether you have one dad, two dads, or some granddads, spoil them with love and gifts and wish them a happy Father's Day. For GMA3, I'm Whit Johnson.
Happy Father's Day to Whit and to TJ and to my dad, to my husband, all the dads out there.
Okay, that was our audio clip on Father's Day. I would just like to say, before I hand it over to my co-host, it's comfort in knowing that Father's Day was actually started in church due to the woman's husband passing away on Father's Day. Did you say on past Father's Day or it is honor for Father's Day?
I didn't catch it, Dr. Glenn, clearly.
I know it's at starting in church. That's comfort in knowing. Jackie.
Yes, I want to say happy Father's Day to my husband too, and to my son-in-law, and to my brother-in-laws and those that are all fathers that are connected in my family. I want to say happy Father's Day. Dr. Glenn, we want to talk about some things that the scripture says about being a good father. And one of the things is it says that to be your child's first teacher. That means that you got to be present in order to be their teacher. You got to be able to, your child wants to be able to look back and say, my dad taught me this. I did have my father after I was older for just a season or just for a little bit. And I do remember that he started teaching me or was trying to teach me how to drive. And I was a teenager, maybe around 14, and he came back for a season and was in our life. And then, after that as an adult, but as a small child, I didn't have that. But I do remember that my dad was teaching me how to drive, Dr. Glenn. Be your child's first teacher. The Bible says to instruct them in the way they should go. You need to teach them, to train them up in the way that they should go. And that's Proverbs 22:16. And when they get old, they will not depart from it. And so that's the word there. It's the father's, one of their responsibilities is to train up a child in the way they should go, not to school. You don't want everything that your child knows to be taught by school or by someone else, and you didn't do any teaching towards them. Dr. Glenn?
I think that is so very true. What else does it say over there?
It says, number 2, dads need to exemplify a good life. Exemplify a good life for your child. The scripture teaches that who we are and how we live is like a letter from God. Our kids read that letter every day. You want your kids to have a good report concerning you. You want them to be able to be proud of some of your attributes as a father. I'm not saying it doesn't mean that fathers don't make mistakes, but I want to say that, make sure that your child knows some good things about you. Sometimes they can only get one side of the story. And if that side is bitter, angry, and only knows negative things about you and their experience has been negative, sometimes that is what is passed on to the children. And the children also begin to reflect that negativity concerning themselves. Dr. Glenn?
I think that's true. And I think having them involved in church gives them a better sense of well-being and a good example of how to be somebody.
That's it. And that's a part of training them up in the way that they should go, is to train them in the ways of the Lord and begin to teach them about who God is. First of all, let them see you as an example, doing some positive things and involved in some positive things, not just sitting in front of the TV, and eating or go to work and complaining all the time. Let your children see, positive things coming out of your mouth and not negative things. And not only that, but some people, some fathers or dads, they even regret having children. And they will also voice those things and project their choices onto the child. It's never the child's fault that they hear. You help them come here.
Yeah, because I remember attending a church in Farmville, and I took my daughter with me, who also brought my 5-year-old granddaughter at the time. So when I went up to the pulpit to be anointed, I looked down standing to my right side, is my 5-year-old granddaughter. I was just so overwhelmed. I don't know if my daughter told her to come up or if she just took it on her own to come up and stay by my side.
And Dr. Glenn, I'm just thinking about how, and I'm stuck on this for a second, how people at the end of the relationship, they begin to just project all these negative things. But there had to be something good about that person, that you ended up, in a relationship or at least in an entanglement with them to have a child. If nothing else, they must have been good looking. If you can't figure out anything at the end nice to say about them, well, at least your daddy was handsome. Come up with something. Don't just make it all negative in the ears of the child about their father.
Yeah, because all the negativity is not going to do any good for anybody. The mother, the dad or father, or the child. The negativity is out.
That's right. And then not only that, I want to say to some people that just because the relationship or you ended up in the midst of the relationship doesn't mean that, or a broken relationship between your parents doesn't mean that your father is actually rejecting you. A lot of fathers love their children, but they just can't have that relationship because of that mother and what is going on there. I want to say to you, find out both sides of the story. Because sometimes you can be told a thing and it not be the truth, Dr. Glenn. Sometimes mothers will say the father didn't want them, and the father wanted everything to do with their child.
Yeah. Some people are just, I don't want to disrespect anybody, but some people are just who they are. You might think they're a blessing, but they are a curse in disguise.
Definitely. And looking all good like they're the hero when they're actually the villain.
The villain.
Dr. Glenn, one of the other things it says here is to provide for your family. A good father provides for his family. Even if you can't be there, at least don't let it be said that you didn't provide for him. Well, I couldn't be there. Circumstances happened, this, that, or the other. The relationship wasn't good. I couldn't do it or whatever. At least provide for your child. Because you could say, at least, I paid. I took care of you. When you're old enough, you could bring the child back in and rein them in and have a relationship with them outside of having that other parent attached. Dr. Glenn?
That's right. And we have 50 seconds before we go to the first break. Jackie, you want to take us out to break?
Yes, get ready. And we're going to invite you to call in again. That phone number is 252-756-2008. Come on back with us. We have a few more things on our list to say and things that are going to give you tips to being a good father. This is Awesome Radio 107.5 and 1570 on your AM dial. Come on back with us and let's get into this deeper. We invite you to call in today. Dr. Glenn?
That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Keep it locked right here to WECU and the WECU Awesome Radio Network, 107.5 FM, 1570 AM. Awesome Radio. Back in a moment.
Keep it locked right here to the Glenn Johnson Show.
The Apostle Paul was always praying for the churches he planted and believers all over the world. There's probably someone praying this right now for you. Together, let's ask God for the same things. Paul said, I have not stopped thanking God for you. I pray for you constantly, asking God, the glorious Father of our Lord Jesus Christ, to give you spiritual wisdom and insight so that you might grow in your knowledge of God. Growing your faith with Ephesians 1, verses 16 and 17.
You're listening to Awesome Radio, WECU, 107.5 FM, 1570 AM. Christian media with the spirit of excellence.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Awesome Radio, 107.5 FM, 1570 AM, WECU, and the Awesome Radio Network. We have reached our final 20 minutes of today's broadcast, and we are still anticipating at least 2 or 3 callers. The number, once again, is 252-756-2008. But I'm going to give it back over to my co-host because we have more documentations. And before the broadcast ends, like I said, we'll play the final audio clip. That is the Father's Day song, Being Like Jesus. That's 3 minutes long. Jackie?
Definitely, Dr. Glenn. We're going, one of the other things that fathers do is that they discipline their children. Not just discipline, but love them too. But at least discipline. that you guided them and you showed them, you were begin to show them the way. It also says that dads spend time with their children. That's one thing that shows that you're a good dad. And I want to say compassion is another one on the list. To know that your children know that you care. Dr. Glenn, when I was an adult and I found out, I began to relate some things that had happened in my life when I was a younger, when I was a child, and to find out that my dad cared, to find out that he, was indignant about it, even after all those years as an adult, it really did something to my heart to know that my father cared about what happened or what went on in my life. It was something, and it really shed a light, towards my self-esteem, to know that I did have someone that was there. But I want to say to anybody, a father or dad that is absent, when you're absent, everything else speaks for you. If you're not there to say out of your own mouth, this is what I believe and this is what should happen, and I'm here, and don't mess with my children and don't harm my children, and my children are somebody and my children are worth something. If you're not there, absentee speaks a lot of things that you may not be saying or you may not feel in your heart.
That's right. And that's why on the list, I like number 8 and number 10. Number 8, don't provoke your children. Ephesians 6:4. The alternative the scripture suggests is to raise them to be people of faith. That is a good one.
Yes, and I believe that scripture probably says, Father, provoke not your children to anger. And what it's talking about is like, some people, especially, and I've seen these on videos, provoke their child to anger, men trying to fight them. You think you a man, I'm a come and teach you how a man does, that kind of stuff. Sometimes I guess it could be warned if the child thinks that they're grown and they're getting out of their place. But sometimes people just do those things to tear down a child and provoke them to wrath, provoke them to anger. That's what we're talking about, being ridiculous.
Yeah.
Some people use the word being extra. Don't be extra with them. Just out here trying to show off your superior strength just to embarrass them or embarrass them in front of people. Those things don't provoke your child to wrath. Don't provoke them to anger. That's not what you're called to do. You're called to protect your child and not to destroy them. Dr. Glenn?
Or sometimes the father or dad might say, don't you be no punk. You better go out there and hit him, do this, do that. Rather than saying, look, just go talk to him and tell him your view. And maybe he'll see it the way that you see it. But don't provoke physical violence.
That's right. Or put them out there where they're outmatched. You know that it's 6 of them out there to fight your one little child. I'm not doing that. As a mother, I might go out there and make you fight, but I'm not going to let all 6 jump you. I'll hold the rest back while you get the one. Okay, Dr. Glenn.
That's right. Because see, like we just said, you don't want to provoke them to any violence at all. You don't want to provoke them to be mean and angry.
That's right.
You want to provoke them to be loving and caring.
That's right. And you want to teach them reasoning skills. Sometimes reasoning doesn't work, but you do want to teach them in the ways of righteousness. But don't put them in a place where they're scarred for life because of what you did or what you allowed. And like you said, using that word and calling a son a punk and all that stuff, or trying to make them because they're different in some way. And I'm not talking about having, an identity crisis, but different in some ways than the father is, because not everyone is going to be physically, some fathers, they do a lot of hard working jobs where they're physically doing things, and the son may not be built like that. His strength may be in his thinking.
That's right.
And in education, whereas the father, his strength may be in someplace else. Don't provoke him to anger.
And to all the men, let me mention this before I give it back over to Jackie. This might be where some of the domestic violence starts, or the bullying in school starts, from people being taught or being provoked to do these different things. So keep that in mind to avoid them from being that way.
And definitely, you don't want to be bullied at home. If school is enough, an outside environment is enough to be bullied, and then to come home and have to hear those things from your own parents or from one of your parents, that's an awful place to be. Dr. Glenn, it says also here, never give up on your children. A good dad never gives up. You know, it could turn around, don't write your child off. Well, you know, they've been in and out of jail their whole life, and all I can see is jail for them again. Maybe your mouth is also needs to be rewired so you could begin to speak life to that child.
And Jackie, you gonna love the number 10.
Number 10 said, dads pray for their children. Definitely. Lift your children up in prayer. If you pray for anybody else, at least pray for your own. If you pray for yourself, don't forget your children. And even if you're separated from them and they're apart, lift them up in prayer, because you never know what they're going through and you never know what is happening in their life.
That's right. And before we go to the next break and then come back with our final 10 minutes, I want to say wholeheartedly, I'm praying for my son that he continues to be a great father and a great dad in my grandchildren's lives. He's raising them to be outstanding citizens.
Definitely. That influence of father is so important. I want to say to all the fathers, you are needed, you are wanted, and your presence is never healed when you're not there.
Let me just say before we go to the break, so like my youngest granddaughter, for instance, who's only 5, she breaks her neck to get over to my house. She loves coming over to my house to see Pop.
Oh, yes.
When they get to that door, that's all I hear. 1,000 times while she said, Pop. I'm like, Ariel, please.
And some of them, they love the pop over the grandma. You know, some of them, they really do. They'll say my papa. And
Yeah.
some of them, because they don't have that father figure, that's the word, and that's what they cling more to.
And we have one document that mentions all that. If we can get to it before we end the broadcast today, maybe we'll conclude with that one of those documents. Then we'll play the final audio track for today, Being Like Jesus.
Fathers are also good communicators. Good fathers are. You know, sometimes this world gives the image that being strong and silent, the strong, silent type as a man, that a man shouldn't communicate. But a good father is a good communicator. He's affectionate and loving towards his children. Tell them, your kids, that you love them, and being able to talk to them and sit down and talk to them. It's a great thing. Not just see things and acting like things don't go on. Your brain dead and stuck in the TV and looking for something to eat and to go back to work, but then have no input or nothing inside of the home. That's not a good father.
Yeah, because then the child's going to think you don't care about them at all. They'll just coming out, just think you're just there, or you just think about yourself. So be active in their life at all costs.
That's right. And how does the child see you treating their mother? How they see you treating women and how they see you treating their mother is a good indicator of whether you are a good father. What do they hear you saying about their mother? What do they hear you saying about women and how you treat women? Those things are things that pour into the children, and it becomes a great influence on the life of the child. Dr. Glenn?
And as we got to the breaches, let me say this. Treat your wife, your significant other, just like you would treat your mom. And I'm talking to the men. You wouldn't disrespect your mom. You wouldn't hit your mom. So therefore, think about that when you raise your hand to your wife or your significant other. Think about, would you do that to your wife, to your mother?
We've given some good principles here today, some good wisdom tips and some things to flow from. And definitely, if you want to talk some more, if you have some input, send those emails and we'll be able to respond to you. Dr. Glenn?
Once again, my email address, glennjohnsonshow@gmail.com. Awesome Radio. Back in a moment.
During the 1800s, Dr. Ernst Haeckel was an early convert to Darwinism. His drawings depict the first stages of all embryonic development with gill slits, even in humans. A theory known as biogenetic law gives the idea that the embryos of all complex animals go through the same stages of development as those of their evolutionary ancestors. In 1874, a German professor by the name of Wilhelm His documented the fact that Haeckel had altered his drawings to show gill slits in an effort to support the theory of evolution. That did not slow Darwin's supporters at all. Today, well over 130 years after Haeckel's drawings were debunked, school textbooks still use drawings based on the falsified illustrations of Ernst Haeckel. We don't have evolutionary gill slits. Instead, we are fearfully and wonderfully made by the God of the Bible. I'm David Reeves. Truly, the heavens declare the glory of God.
For more information, visit David Reeves Ministries at davidreeves.com. DavidRives.com.
My name is Jayla, and you're to see to my papa, Glenn Johnson, on the radio.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We are continuing our broadcast today. We are still waiting for callers to call in. And we have a caller calling in. Callers on the line. Caller, you are live on the air on the Glenn Johnson Show, Awesome Radio. You have a comment or question?
Yeah, I just want to say happy Father's Day to everybody in the listening circle. And pray that God is blessed and will continue to bless. And people's prayers are answered. And the children are receiving the knowledge, the impartation that they should from fathers. Maybe they got to go ask for it sometime, but I pray that, that's happening all over the Awesome Radio listening audience. And thank you guys for a great presentation. And, of course, we appreciate you. And co-host, or host, if you will.
Thank you, caller. Calling, do you have anything else to offer?
Good. Just I want to encourage everybody to continue to, go for the prize and the mark of the highest calling that you can. And God will do the rest. So have faith and receive your marching orders, and that's just what they might be. Marching orders, meaning it's a battle, it's a war. There's pain involved, disappointment, but there's also rewards. There's also beautiful, beautiful, beautiful opportunities that lie ahead for all of us if we persevere. So with all the men out there, just do what you do. Don't get too distracted. And, people will try to push you off of your mark. But I say stay the course and let the spiritual wickedness in high places be taken care of through your prayers and move forward as the days go on.
That's right. Thank you so much, call. We have 7 minutes remaining. So I'm going to go back to my calls. I just entered 2 documents. We'll do those 2 documents. Then we'll get to the final audio clip, which is 3.5 minutes. And that should conclude today's broadcast. Jackie.
And it's one of our documents here says, and thank you so much, caller, for the encouragement that you gave. I mean, those words, I believe they were gold. They were very, very powerful and very, very encouraging for our fathers and for the dads to keep on going and keep on moving no matter the obstacles. I love that.
Yeah. I'm also glad that the caller mentioned the God and the blessing, because you do good, God will shower down the blessings on you.
Well, and Dr. Glenn, one thing I used to say, about my own, I had more than one because, I don't know, may get old and somebody might say, don't put them in the home. The very love and the patience and the things that you have given out to others and to your children will come back to you. They will be a blessing to you. We want to talk about here, Dr. Glenn gave me a couple of documents here, and it says, can the Bible help me to have a happy family? And it says here, number 1 is to legalize your marriage. Yeah, that is a very good thing. There are people, they spend long years in relationships but they can't spend long years in marriage, or they're long years from relationship to relationship, and they have long-term, success in just being in a relationship, but not in a marriage. And that's Matthew 19:4-6. God doesn't honor anything else. He only honors marriage.
All right, so in recognition of Father's Day and in honor of Father's Day, I want to play this audio clip. After the audio clip, I would get my co-host to read the lyrics to the audio. Then I will conclude today's broadcast. Okay, I'm going to cut that short because the main part I got out of that was you are a reflection of Jesus. So all you dads out there, fathers out there, that's good, raising your children, taking them to church. You are a reflection of Jesus. I'm going to ask my co-host if she can read some of the lyrics to that song.
And that's exactly what it says, Dr. Glenn. Your light reflects the sun. Your life shows the works that he has done. There's nothing, there's not a thing you wouldn't do to help those around you. And then it says, you teach without using words. You show what it looks like to serve. You are a friend to those in need. You love them like family. I thank God for you every day, for your kindness in all the ways that you love us and lead us. I see Jesus in how you live, slow to anger and quick to forgive. You're a reflection of Jesus. I love those words.
Yeah.
I love those words. I mean, just awesome. And that's what it's doing, comparing the Father to Jesus.
And not only for fathers, but for all of for humankind. Whatever you do, you are a reflection of Jesus.
Definitely. I thank God for you every day, for your kindness in all the ways. Your faith is rooted in Christ. In him you trust and abide. You are the branch. He is the vine. For Jesus, your light shines. I love that, Dr. Glenn. Just very, very powerful words. And again, comparing the father, natural father or dad, to Jesus.
And you know, sometimes the Lord works in ways that's beyond our comprehension. Because you know, when I got looked up that song, I said, you know, there's a Mother's Day song, especially for the African American community. That's I'll always love my mama by the Intruders. But what is the Father's Day song?
Oh, there's more than one Mother's Day song, Dr. Glenn. There's a lot of Mother's Day songs. The Rejected Mother, I know several, about mothers and things about mothers, stories, whole stories about mothers being left or being put in the home, and the other good son and the bad son came to get them. I mean, it's a lot of different things. There's a lot of songs about mothers out there. Dr. Glenn?
And as far as Father's Day song, people like to joke and say, one of the Father's Day songs is Papa was a Rolling Stone.
Some of the people, that's their testimony. Dr. Glenn.
I don't think Papa was a Rolling Stone. Papa was a great provider and a good father. Ladies and gentlemen, this will include our broadcast on Father's Day for today. To all the fathers and dads out there, happy Father's Day from the Glenn Johnson Show and Awesome Radio. Thank you for tuning in today. Thank you.